Loci is what we're looking at in this video. It's split into 4 parts. So first we're going to start off by looking at simple examples around drawing a loci around a point and a line. And then we're going to move on to looking at 2 lines and 2 points. And then we're going to look at problem solving questions like this, and then much more difficult problem solving questions like this with loci. So the way my videos work, I'm going to do the example on the left, which is I do. You are then going to press pause and I've got the example on the right, which is you do. So here we've been asked to construct the locus of points that are exactly 2 centimeters away from point A. So locus just means a set of points. So the way we do that is, so we grab a ruler and a compass. So we need to measure 2 centimeters on the compass. So if I put my compass just there, I think I've already got it set to 2 centimeters, perfect. And then I just put the dot there and I just draw that. And that is how you construct the locus of points exactly 2 centimeters away from point A. Now, hopefully you have printed these off. I have got them linked down in the comments below. And if you've printed them off, you should be able to follow along with me. So all you're going to do here is put your compass, measure 1 centimeter on the compass, and then put that there on the dot, and then draw your locus like that. So moving on, now here we've been asked to construct the locus of a point that are within 2 centimeters. So we're doing the exact same thing here. We're just going to shade it to show the region itself. So exactly the same as before. I am going to put this here. I am going to measure. Oh, no, don't press that. Can be a little bit tricky on the iPad. There we go. I am going to do the exact same thing I did before. The only difference this time is that it says that are within 2 centimeters. So I'm just going to take my pen and let's just use a different color. And I'm just going to shade in that region. So it's within the 2 centimeters. Okay. And the exact same thing on the right. So again, you hopefully, like I said, you should have printed these slides off. They are in the comments below. You're going to put that there, do the exact same thing as before. And you are just going to shade that region to show that it is within that. Okay. So moving on. Now it says more than 1 centimeter from that point. So again, the exact same thing, right? Draw it. And once you've drawn it with your compass and your ruler, so if I just grab my ruler, put that there, grab my compass, measure out 1 centimeter, roughly there, put that there, put it on there, and now it says more than 1 centimeter, so essentially it'll be the region sort of outside of that, okay? So that would be that. And again, the exact same thing on the right. So you would just grab your compass, measure 2 centimeters, draw your circle, and then sort of just, oh no, I'm not being completely accurate here, just to speed things up a little bit. So you draw your 2 centimeters, and then it's just a case of shading in the sort of region outside to show, well, actually it's more than 2 centimeters, so that would be the bit outside. So moving on, now it says construct a locus of points that are exactly 2 centimeters from the line AB. So they need to be exactly 2 centimeters from this line. Now the way we do that is, so we grab a ruler as usual, we measure 2 centimeters on here. This time we've been given a line instead of a point. And once you've done that, you put it on the edge here and you draw a circle. Well, I say circle, I mean semicircle, like so. And then you take it and you put it on the other edge. So I'm going to put it onto A now. And like I said, it can be a little bit tricky to get this right on the iPad. And I'm going to draw my semicircle again. And once I've done that, I move the compass out the way. I'm going to use my ruler to just connect those two together. Let me just make sure I've got the same color selected, or is it a purple? So that would go there. So essentially just a line that connects that and a line there that connects that together. Like so. Again, like I said, it's a little bit tricky to get this perfect on the iPad, but hopefully that should give the idea. This doesn't need to be there. There we go. So that's what it should look like, essentially. And again, hopefully on the right, you've pressed pause and had a go. And so, again, the exact same thing. This time all we're doing is, instead of measuring 2 centimeters, we're measuring 1 centimeter on a ruler. So if I grab my ruler, bring that in to 1 centimeter. Perfect. And if I put that there, I draw my semicircle. Again, like I said, it's a little bit tricky to get this perfect on the iPad. So if I draw that there, and then if I move the compass and I put it on A, And if I draw that, oh, look there. There you go. And if I draw that, perfect. And now I just grab my ruler and I connect that together and move that up, and again connect that together, and you will end up with something that looks like that. Now, like I said, it's a little bit tricky to get this perfect on the iPad, but you get the idea. So moving on, it says construct a locus of points that are the same distance from A and B. So in this, what you should end up with is a line that sort of goes through the middle here. Now, the way we do that is, firstly, we can connect the two together, and we need to bisect the two. So if I connect these two together, if I get my pen, it would look something like this, right? And now what I need to do is move that out of the way, rub this off, grab my compass, and I'm going to bisect this line. When I say bisect, so we're going to go just beyond halfway, and we're going to rotate that, and we're going to draw on a curve here. And same thing at the bottom, we're going to go just down here, draw the curve here, and now I'm going to put this onto B, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to rotate this, go there, and just right. There we go. And there we go, perfect. Move that out of the way, so we have now bisected that line, and now we just grab this and draw a straight line through them 2 points. And that is it. That is how you do that. So if I move that out of the way, so that's how you construct the locus of points that are the exact same distance from A and B. So that line in the middle there is the exact same distance from both A and B. Okay, so draw your line, then use your compass to bisect the perpendicular. That's what we're doing here. Okay, so grab your ruler, same thing as before. You're going to connect the 2 points together. So get my pencil, connect these two together, perfect. Move the ruler out of the way, grab my compass, put it on the sort of edge here, rotate that, open it so it's beyond halfway. This is important, it needs to be beyond halfway, anywhere beyond halfway will do. Rotate that, mark your point down here, rotate that up, mark your point up, mark your point up there, and then move it over to this side, and we are now doing the exact same thing here, and then move that down, put that there, and now grab this and draw a straight line through that. So trying to be as accurate as I can here. Like I said, it's a little bit tricky on the iPad, but I'll try my best. There we go. So you end up with something like this, and let me just tidy that up at the top. There we go. So moving on, now it's saying construct a locus of points that are the same distance from the two lines. Now to do this, you just have to bisect the angle essentially. So the way you do that is you just need your compass for this. You don't even need a ruler. Let me just make this a bit bigger. So if I put my compass there, I'm going to rotate it and mark a point on here. And then I'm going to rotate it and mark a point on here. And then from the markings, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Draw a curve there from this marking. And then from this marking, draw that there. And then I'm going to grab my ruler. And through the center, I'm going to draw a line straight through this. So it will look something like that. Okay. Now that line is the exact same distance from the two black lines. Okay, and that's how you do that. So hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at this. So this is essentially called bisecting an angle. I have got a separate video on this. So line there, make sure the compass stays open the exact same distance, and then a line there. And then take the compass, put it on this edge, keep it open the same width. That is important that you are not changing how much it's open by. Make a marking there, and then take it, put it there. Turn that, make a marking there, and get rid of the compass and bring in the ruler. And now it's just a case of drawing a straight line that goes through from, that needs to be turned a little bit more, from there straight through there. And there we go. So that is how that would look. Now moving on, so it says shade the area closer to A than B. So I can see that A is here and B is there. Now what I need to do is find the midway between these 2 points and draw a line. So to find the midway between these two, I need to bisect that. So what I need to do is grab my compass, put that here, open it so it's more than halfway. So let me make that a bit bigger. That to me looks like it's more than halfway. And then it's just a case of drawing a curve here and turning it upwards, drawing a curve here. Now keep it open the same amount, take it over to B, and the exact same thing here. Draw a line there, bring it down, draw a line there, perfect. And now bring in the ruler and draw a line straight through there. So now we know exactly where the halfway point between these two is, okay? So now that we've been able to half this, so let me just draw that line in. Just grab my pen, draw that line in, perfect. Now I know exactly where the halfway point between A and B is. Now it says shade the area closer to A than B. So essentially that would look like this. That would be this area here. So yeah, to get that line perfectly in the middle, you do have to bisect it like that with a compass. So hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go. So now it's saying closer to A than D. So what you need to do is bisect it so a line goes through here. Now you can't just draw it like that. You do need to grab your compass. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to grab my compass, put my ruler to a side. I am going to open my compass so it's more than halfway. So let me rotate this, see where it is. Well, that is way too much. Yeah, about there will do. Perfect. So draw my little curve here. Rotate that back up. Draw my little curve here. And then take it there. And the exact same thing here. Draw my curve there. Bring it down. Oh, no. Draw my curve here. Now I can get rid of that. Now I can bring in my ruler. And what I've done by doing this is I've perfectly bisected, and bisected just means cut in half. I've perfectly halved that. So draw a straight line through there. Now I can get rid of my ruler. Now I've perfectly halved that, so it's saying shade the area closer to, I'll use a different color, A then D, so that would be that region there. So moving on, now it says shade the area closer to AB than AD. So here it's talking about lines. So in the previous question, we were talking about points, which is point A and point B. Now we're talking about lines. So it's talking about this line here and this line here. Now, in order to do that, what you don't want to do is find half of this line by doing this. I often see people do this. That would be incorrect, okay? You need to bisect that angle. And the way you do that is you take your compass, you put it at a common point, so they both have A in common. You just open it however much you want. It doesn't really matter. You draw that there, and you draw a little mark there. You keep it open the same width. You put it on that mark. You draw again, and then you put it on this mark, and you draw again. Like that, just about fit it in there. Let me just make sure this is going to be a bit wrong. There you go. So let me just move that out of the way. And then grab your ruler. Draw a line straight through there that bisects it. Remember, bisect just means cut in half. So we're going to cut this in half. Grab a pen. Cut that perfectly in half. Awesome. Move the ruler out of the way. Now it's saying closer to AB than AD. So that means the region that we shade here is going to be this one here. So hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at the example on the right. So the first thing, what is it asking for? So the question is asking for closer to BC than DC. That means this is where we're going to put the protractor, and we're going to bisect that so we know exactly what the halfway point between these two lines is. So I'm going to grab my compass. I'm going to put it on the edge here. It doesn't really matter how much you open it. So we're going to put a marking there. Nope. I'm going to put a little... Not sure why it keeps doing that sometimes. We're going to put it on C. Rotate it. Put a mark there. Bring it down. Put a mark there. Take it. Put it on that mark. cross that through, put it on this mark, cross that through. Now we can get rid of the compass. Now we can bring in the ruler. Looks like, yeah, that looks almost perfect. That would be good enough. So I then take that, draw a line through there. Awesome. And now it's saying the region closer to BC. So that is going to be this region over here. So moving on, now it says draw a line to show the path equidistant from the point AB. So equidistance just means that's perfectly halfway between A and B. So essentially it would look something like so. That's perfectly halfway between these 2 points. Now obviously we need to draw that accurately, and the way we do that is we grab a ruler, we connect the 2 points together, and then we bisect it. And bisect just means to perfectly cut in half and we can use a compass to do that. So I'm going to connect these 2 points together as perfectly as I can. So that's A. And there we go, perfect. Draw my line. Connect these two together. Awesome. Now grab my compass and bisect it. So that's point A. And I'm going to open the compass so it's more than halfway. Awesome. And then we'll go up, draw a line here. Oh, no, keep that the same. That shouldn't have moved. And in fact, let me just draw that again. Let me just draw that off. So I'm open more than halfway. Yep, that looks good. Draw that in there. Turn it. Draw that in there. Like I said, it can be a little bit tricky to work with on the iPad. And then turn it. Just reset it there. And then is it the same on this side? Okay, let me just try that one more time. So if I rotate that, put it on A, rotate it, open it more than halfway, take it up, draw that there. Put that on B. Perfect. Perfect. And now get rid of that. Bring in my ruler. Rotate that. And put a line straight through there. And that is, so that blue line there, in fact, I should have probably used a different color. Maybe let's go with like yellow. That yellow line there is essentially equidistant from A and B. It's the exact same distance from both of them, and that is how you do that. Now I'm going to speed this up for this side because I don't think I need to go through it. So the first step would have been that you connected these two together. The second step would have been that you bisected them. So you'd have had something up here with the compass, something down here with the compass, and then you just have a line that sort of passes straight through that. That is equidistant from both of them, okay? And I've shown how to do that on the left. So moving on. So now we're looking at sort of a problem-solving question. So it's saying, shade the region less than 5 centimeters from AD. Okay, so I'm going to grab my ruler. I'm going to go with 5 centimeters from AD. And I'm going to make a mark. So that is, let's use a different color. Let's just put that there. So that is your sort of 5 centimeters there. Yeah, that's almost perfect. It's just a little bit tricky to get this perfect on the iPad, but yeah, you can measure that as 5. And then we're going to draw the line down to show that that is 5. So if I go here, grab that tool. There we go. So that is your 5 centimeters there. And then the second bit says within 4 centimeters from point C. And the way we do that is with a compass. So we grab a compass and we just make this a little bit bigger. We're going to open it to 4 centimeters. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 would be up there. So if I put this on 0, open this to 4, put that on C, and then it's just against yourself doing this. Awesome. So if I now move this out of the way, so it's saying it's within 4 centimeters of C, but it's less than 5 centimeters from D. So what it's saying is it's this way, because it's less than 5 centimeters from D, but it's within 4 centimeters of C. So this is the region that we're interested in. So this is the region that we're being asked to shade. So hopefully you have pressed pause and had a go at the example on the right. Now with this one, it's saying shade the region closer to point B than C. Now what we need to do for the first one is bisect that, so we know exactly what the halfway distance is. So essentially you end up with a line down the middle, so we know exactly where the halfway point is. And the way you do that is, remember, with a compass. Now we've already practiced this before, so you grab your compass, you put it there, you open it so it's more than halfway, and then you draw your lines. So first line can go there, second line can go there. Put this up here and rotate that. Next line can go there. Rotate that again. Next line can go there. Perfect. So that, and now I just grab this. I draw a line straight through it. And now, like I said, it's a little bit tricky to be very accurate on the iPad, so I'm going to try my best. So that is sort of a line that goes. In fact, I should have to move the ruler down a bit. Let me just complete that line if I can. There we go. So that is that line there. Now it's saying shade the region closer to point B than C, and then it says closer to line AD than AB. So that is talking about sort of AD is there, and then AB is there. So that means I need to bisect at point A. So come to point A, rotate that, make a mark there, rotate that again, make a mark there, take this, put it onto here, rotate that. I should probably use a different color at this point so it's not too confusing. Make a mark there, put it there. And yeah, I feel like I should have got a bit longer there. So let me just finish. Yeah, so it would look something like so. It's just a little bit tricky to use this tool on here. There we go. So I know that's a little bit messy, but it would look something like that. We can get rid of this green line here. We don't need that one there. And if I grab this and rotate that, we are going to draw a line straight through there. So we can just use that color there. There we go. So the two lines we're interested in is the brown one and the orange one. So with that, it's saying it's closer to AD. So if I just grab this, so it's saying it's closer to AD, so that's this brown line, then it is to BC. And then on the orange line, it's saying it's closer to BC. So the region that we're going to shade is going to be this one here, because it's closer to B, side B than C, and then it's closer to AD than it is to BC. So moving on, now it says, did we already do this one? Yeah, we've already done this example. So here's the last one. Now this is the trickiest one out of all of them. But again, you work one bullet point at a time. So the first one says less than 3 centimeters from point P. So we grab a protractor, and let me just make it a bit bigger. We are going to measure 3 centimeters. Perfect. That looks about right to me anyway. And we're going to put that on point P, and we are going to draw 3 centimeters. So it has gone out the box a bit because it's a little bit tricky to get this perfect on the iPad, but we'll tidy it up a little bit. There we go. So that's that. So it's saying less than 3 centimeters from point P, then it's saying more than 3 centimeters from line AD. So if I put this on line AD, which is there, and if I mark on 3 centimeters, so if I use a different color, that would be roughly there. So if I then take my ruler, rotate that, put it there, grab my pen tool, draw that in, And if I move this out of the way, so that's now that done. And then it says closer to line AB than AD. Now I'm going to have to bisect that to find the exact halfway point between AB and AD. And again, I'll use a different color to avoid confusion. So I'm going to make my first sort of marking on here. I'm then going to make my second marking on here. Take this here, make my next marking, which would probably be somewhere there. And then make my marking from here, which, there we go, pretty much perfect this time. And now move that out of the way. Now grab my ruler, join that all together. There we go. And if I get my pen and connect that, there we go. And if I now move that out of the way, so now we need to really think through what region it's talking about. So it's saying it's less than 3 centimeters from point P, so that means it's within this orange purple circle. It's saying more than 3 centimeters from line D, which means it's in this direction from the orange line. And it's saying close to AB, which means it's in that direction there. So the region that we're shading here is, so it has to be within the orange bit. So if I take out the right color, I believe it's going to be this bit here. That is within, that is happy with all the arrangements that are given, all the constraints that are given in the question. So hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at this question here. So the first thing you would have done is grab your compass and measured 2 centimeters on there. So grab my compass, measure out 2 centimeters, perfectly done. And then I'm just going to draw that in. So go here, draw in your 2 centimeters. Perfect. Move the compass out of the way. More than 4 centimeters from line BC. BC is there. 4 centimeters is there. I'm just going to make a mark on where that ends up. So that ends up there. And I'm just going to grab my ruler and draw that in. So move the compass out of the way. That's that drawn. And if I read the final constraint, it's saying closer to AD, which is this one here, then DC, which is here. So I need to bisect using the compass that bit there. So if I again use a different color, so if I put that there, rotate that, just open it up a little bit, make a mark there, rotate that, make a mark there, and then take that, put it on there, make a mark there, take that, put it there, make a mark there, and then take the ruler, and put it there, and draw a straight line through there, and then put that here. That is perfect. And with this, we have that. So now it's just a case of figuring out what the constraints are. So it's saying sort of less than 2 centimeters from point P, which means it needs to be within this blue circle somewhere. It's saying more than 4 centimeters from BC, so it has to be to the left side of this orange line. And it's saying closer to AD, so it's going to be in that direction there. Then the other one, okay, cool. So we just grab that, and this is the region that we are shading. If you would like some more practice, I've got a full worksheet link down in the comments below. And if you found this really useful, I've got loads of other content like this. Do check it out.